This is the forecast taking you from the full moon in Scorpio right the way through to the new moon in Gemini on the 27th of May. Now, in this 2-week period, there's a lot of energy, but the energy that I really pick up as being the most important would be the Uranian energy and the Saturn energy. Now, the Uranian energy is that the full moon is in a opposition to Uranus and the new moon is in a conjunction to Uranus. So the Uranian energy is kind of seeded throughout this 2-week period. I notice that we have a beautiful Uranus cazimi where it makes an exact conjunction with the sun. And then a week later, Uranus makes an exact conjunction with Mercury. You know, this is inspiring times. These are the days where outside influences are tuned into. This is super duper special. So what I'm going to do in this short video of maybe 20 minutes tops is I'm going to go through most of the planetary placements by looking at 2 charts, the new moon and the full moon, and see how they fit together. Now, if you're new to this channel, my name's Louisa Munson. Welcome. Feel Good Astrology is my way of looking at astrology to see the potential, the potential that the planets are offering. It's almost as if, they're a blueprint for how we might choose to make our choices. I think when we follow the natural flows of the planets, that life seems to go a bit better. So that's my invitation to you. If you've come back and you've been here before, then welcome back. Thanks for joining me once again. Let's bring up the slides and take it from there. Now, normally when I'm doing these forecasts, I do pay a little bit of extra attention to the actual moon phase that we're in, and also lay it out on, in a diary, so you get to see where everything is falling. However, this information is not specific to Leo, it's specific to all signs. So in this particular forecast and hereafter, I'm putting that information into a separate video that can be watched because it relates to everybody. So it's no point in doing it over and over and over again in each video. That video is called The Shadow and the Shift to Light, your 2-week forecast. So look out for that if it's of interest. Now, what I'm going to be doing is looking at this particular chart, the full moon in Scorpio chart and the new moon in Gemini chart. But just before I do that, I just want to say thank you to everybody that sponsors this channel. You really make a difference to me and my life. It's also very encouraging. It helps me do more of what I love. So thank you so much. So let's have a look at these 2 charts then. So the full moon in Scorpio is falling in your 4th house. And again, I should have said at the start, I don't know if you're looking at this as a Leo sun person or a Leo ascendant. I designed these really for the Leo ascendants, all the ascendant signs, but it also works from a sun perspective according to the feedback I get. Now, if your sun sign or ascendant sign is different, feel free to also listen to that particular forecast. You'll get a much broader view. So anyway, according to your Leo perspective, I would... I see that the full moon is really engaging in your 4th house, bringing up a little bit of intense emotions. Now, the moon represents the mom. It also represents the children. And it really represents the psyche, like the internal emotional situation you find yourself in. And at this bottom part of the chart, it can really get you thinking about the past and about your childhood and about all of the behaviors within your life, because they are all built on the experience that you had from childhood with your family. So I imagine that this could really bring things up. Now, with Uranus and the sun right at the top of your chart, to me, it feels like the older you is slightly shocked, as the moon is in this lower part, showing you the emotions from earlier times. So, it's important to watch out for that. Now, obviously, I've spoken about this a little bit in the previous video. So now I'm going to focus on the switch from the full moon to the new moon and what's happening. And what you'll see is that there's a new pattern evolving. You see this has got these oppositions, these long red lines. There's also the opposition between Mars and Pluto. Now that's been ongoing since the end of October. Both Mars in your own sign and Pluto have been in opposition. They've gone into 3 full oppositions. Now Mars is just coming out of this, and within a few days of the full moon, Mars is really out of this opposition, and you're feeling a lot more confident. Mars moving forwards in your first house is an indication of your renewed vigor, your renewed sense of self, your ability to kind of recreate yourself with a lot of vitality and determination and fire. It's like you're thrusting through life right now, and I imagine it feels quite heady, quite strong within you. But at the time of the full moon, we are still just experiencing the tail end of this opposition. So your feelings of survival, your feelings of being able to make your way in the world, may have been hampered by strong people in your life, and so that's really where you're moving from. Now, if you look at these patterns, you'll see that by the time the new moon comes in, there's a lot more blue, there's a lot more ease. So these reds are showing where there are challenges to what's going on for you right now, and that the blues are really showing where there are opportunities. And so what I really see is this area of opportunity at the time of the new moon in Gemini. You've got the sun and the moon together, you've got Mercury and Uranus. In fact, from this position on the 12th of May, the sun is going to cross over Uranus, Mercury is going to cross over Uranus, and the moon makes it from here all the way over Uranus for the new moon. And so you could say that this new moon is fully infused with the Uranian energy, and it's in this 11th house. Now, this part of your chart is reserved for feeling good about your life with others that you're sharing it with. Like the 11th house is your friends, your social networks, your friends of friends of friends of friends. This is a place where things can really move quite fast. To me, this looks like a place where you have lots of influence, where you're able to reach people and reach them in a way that creates a flow and also is co-creating something. Now, this particular part of your chart is also highly idealistic and ideological. It's a place where we create global visions or community visions, and a community sentiment. So if any part of your job is related to other people and getting out there and having a purpose for doing so, then this is a really, really lucky time. And you're in the run up to it right now. That's the most important thing. Now, let me just take you back to the idea that the sun is going to make a conjunction with Uranus. That's on the 17th. That's Saturday the 17th. And then Mercury is making this connection to Uranus. That's on the 24th. See, Uranus has been in this 10th house part of your chart for a really long time, since I think 2018. Now, this part of your chart is about your career and your standing in the world. And earlier on, when it first went into this part of your chart, it would have brought up this sense of independence, this desire to do things your own way, not to work under the permission of somebody else, not to have other people sort of overseeing how you're doing things. It really coincided with a time with you wanting to feel free, and also feel free in what you're doing, so much so that you don't feel like it's costing your soul. It's really not costing you. So to me, it feels like you've been considering how you can be free in your intention and in your life. And it's also a place of spontaneity. So you may, and also change. So you may have found that your career has changed no end in this span from 2018 to where we are right now in 2025. Now, interestingly, it's going to go into this exciting area of connections very soon on the 7th of July. But right for now, the fact that the sun and Mercury and the moon are all going over this just before the new moon, to me, is giving you one last real sort of shot of spontaneity, chance, like being in the right place at the right time, finding the truth, finding a quick change, an upgrade, a sense of synchronicity, a sense of spark, a sense of spirit. And all of this, all of these new changes and opportunities are coming in this part of your career. So I guess to follow through on what I'm suggesting is your new contacts, and the methods that you have for reaching people and sharing and being influential are really well starred right now. In particular, they're supported by Pluto in the 7th. And what I would really say here is anywhere where you feel like you're in resistance to powerful people, in particular, if you've had bad experiences with powerful people, or you've got this idea that people in power are immoral or greedy or deceitful in some way, anywhere where you've got any negativity about powerful people, how could you let go of it? How could you allow this view of people that could help you to dissipate? Because right now it feels like you're in the right place to be picked up by the right person, for somebody to come along and see your vision, understand your vision, and say, hey, I'm on board, how can I get involved? So if you're already closing it down because you're holding the energies of the past situations and your past disapproval of these powerful people, nothing is going to happen. In fact, you can see during this time Pluto is in a square to Chiron, and Chiron does show our wounds. So the wounds of these powerful people, they're still strong. So whatever you can do to let those go would be great. There's another, not warning, but sort of something to be aware of, and that is Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is the natural planet of expansion, and Jupiter rules your fifth house, to do with your creative potential and you getting your ideas out there, like being super duper creative. And he also rules your eighth house, which has to do with moving on to the next level in life, and also to working with other people's money, to do with I think being able to work in collaboration with people. The eighth house does show where there's some difficulty historically, where we might get a bit triggered by people and feel very judged by them. But Jupiter is your man. He's the man that can free you from those old expectations and also free you to be even more creative. Now, Jupiter on the 15th is in a T-square. Now, I haven't actually put the other side of the square in, but it goes from here, the south node in your second house, right the way through to the north node in your eighth house. And so there's some beliefs about money that you may still be harboring, and it's worth letting go of those so that your creative potential can be released and experienced at a much deeper level. So I'm thinking, what else can I share? I know I've recorded a romance and relationship and connection forecast, and also a career and ambition forecast. And I really do talk about the career and at a much deeper level than I already have. But there's so much more that I do want to touch on in particular. And this is something to watch out for, because, with Mars in your first house right now, and it has been, it's only been in your first and 12th house since last October. It hasn't got very far. It's desperately trying to move out and move into your second, so you can start earning money again and start to feel like the money is increasing exponentially. But to me, Mars in your first house has for a long time been about you building your strength up to have the next push. Now, Mars is making a square to, where is it? And this is earlier in the forecast. Let me go back. Is it showing? No, it's not showing up. But on the 18th of May, which is Sunday, the 18th of May, Mars is making a square to Mercury, by which point it's around about here. And at the time of this square, Jupiter is also in a sextile to Chiron. It feels a bit like a trigger day. It's straight after the Cazimi day on the 17th, and the 17th is all about, how you can have this sudden new information, this sudden knowing that just comes in and surprises you. It's like coming out from here in here. It's like this knowing that hits you. But then on Sunday, the 18th of May, there's this kind of disruptive force. So Mars here in your first house, in a square to Mercury in your 10th, it can show where there's some tension between somebody, between you and somebody in your business. Now, if you work for somebody else, there's the danger that you might be a little bit too forceful, in communications with your boss or your colleagues. And it can also show a sort of slightly argumentative energy on that day. But the fact that Jupiter is also connecting to Chiron is an indication to me that during that time, you're actually already in your emotions. You're already feeling your emotions, in particular, emotions about sort of anxiety of being bullied or excluded. Jupiter here in this 11th house usually feels completely accepted and is really kind of like full of friends and enjoying that. But Jupiter is also in a square with Saturn in the 8th house. That, to me, there's an indication of past bad feelings about not being good enough, or all of that's like coming up, and the outcome of it could be this like sense of cheekiness, this sense of rebelliousness at work. So it's something to watch out for. I don't think I think after that it's really quite plain sailing, with the Venus in a trine to Mars and the Sun in a sextile to Neptune. It's going beautifully. The last couple of days, then, the 24th of May and the 25th. So the 24th of May, we've got the Sun in where am I? Hang on, there we go. This is just before the full moon, but on the 24th in particular, the Sun is in a super duper strong trine with Pluto, and Mercury is in the exact conjunction with Uranus. This is a very, very insightful day, and one where you can make some big, bold steps forwards. So if there's somebody sort of surprising, somebody slightly on the outside that you have meant to be in communication with, but maybe haven't, it would be a good time to have one of these like surprising meetings. It's not during a traditional work day, but to me, it feels like it's got promise. The very next day, on the 25th, Saturn does move into this part of your chart, really giving you an opportunity to get a lot more serious about the things you're expanding in your world. To me, that's showing that you've got this sense of discernment, that you're ready to choose between the whole cornucopia of things that you see in front of you that are very, very attractive. So, Leo, there's so much going on for you. I could almost talk all day, but I want to stop and take a deep breath. So I'm going to leave you to it. If any of this, if this sounds sort of exciting and you'd like me to tease through some of your ideas and help you get a bit more discernment about where you're moving, or to spot the best times for you to move, then give me a shout. All of my details are below. And if you wanted to book a consultation, the links are there. Moreover, I do have a membership, and again, the details are there, but there are 4 extra forecasts that I do every month for my members. There was 1 meetup. There's now 2 meetups where I meet with them and chat over things about astrology and life. And there's other benefits too. So it's all below. So just check it out. And hopefully I'll catch up with you another time real soon. Take care and have lots of fun. Bye for now.